Right, we're here. We're live. Don't really know where to start with that one. Welcome back to Instant Match Reaction, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
We're back here discussing the Leeds lost to Southampton. Leeds 3 losses out of 5. Rodon said before the QPR game that they were right up for it. They were right up for it. Byram, I've just seen a Sky Sports thing saying that they're right up for it. They're desperate to win. I didn't see anything like that, did you?
I didn't see anything like that, Conor, either. It was a complete damp squib. It's hard to believe. I think you said it at some point, whether it was through our coverage there, but you said we did actually have something to play for going into this game.
They could have gone up automatics.
Yeah. There was still something to play for. There's still incentive to go out there, be bouncing on our heels, on the haunches, and really thinking about putting in a really good performance. That was the thing for me before today. It was all about getting a performance, getting the confidence back, making sure that we put in a really, really good performance, and we got the absolute opposite. I saw nothing there today. I'm really finding it very difficult to be positive right now about anything that I saw today.
Well, yeah.
I'm sorry, I am.
No, I think we were saying it on the watch along. That what you wanted going into today was a bit of performance. I said it on the preview of the game. I just want something, whether or not it's Joseph starting, whether or not it's Gelhardt coming on 45s, and us thinking, it's almost like a new signing. It's almost them getting involved a little bit earlier on, and you're thinking to yourself, oh, actually, that's something. That's a bit of impetus. That's a bit of a character that we can take into there. I think the largely worrying thing for me is how we've pretty much been a relegation candidate since we've been back from the international break. We've been brutally honest. We've been that abysmal. I think any team would have come up against us and got points off us, and they have really. But I think the worrying thing is you get absolutely popped off the park by QPR, pasted. And like you've said, we had a good 10 minutes, a good 10, 15 minutes. But
they still scored.
But like you quite rightly said, they still scored, and the midfield completely absent, which it has been post-international break. A lot to talk about when it comes to the managerial decisions. The defence looks absolutely horrendous. All of a sudden, we look like we could concede at any point. And as the thumbnail says, that I have absolutely zero confidence after that. Going in. I mean, where was the intensity? Where was Leeds wanting it? The fight, desire, the passion? Where was anything? It was absolutely absent on it.
Completely absent. And there seems to be a malaise that sets in, don't you feel? There seems to be this lethargy about the club. I don't know what it is. It seems almost like a disinterest. Even when those lads came on, the 3 substitutions, and God knows why I waited 15 minutes into the second half. Why would you not, by the way, why would you not make the substitutions at half time? Because by not making the substitutions, by default, you're saying you're happy with that first half performance. So I don't know why he wouldn't make those changes right at the start of the second half. But even when they did come on, I didn't think they showed anything, and I expected it. I saw one moment, where the Southampton defence had the ball and they were playing it out from the back, and Joseph's a good 3 meters away from them, just backing off, letting them have the ball. There was no running towards the ball and challenging the Southampton defenders. So it's even affecting players like him who's got something to prove. That's what worries me, Conor. What worries me, it's the performances. And I know it sounds like a strange thing to say, but you can still put in a really good performance and lose.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I've been happy with the defeat, but I'd have been happy with seeing a performance and players that seem committed to the cause. None of them seem interested. There are 2 things here. There's a manager and his players, and none of them seem to be showing any kind of enthusiasm for a win at the moment. It sounds strange, but it's pretty blooming depressing. We've still got a chance of going up. A real chance, but on what we're seeing here, I'm already thinking ahead for next year and starting again in August in the Championship, and I shouldn't be.
Yeah, if we're looking at that realistically, I mean, you're coming up against a playoff candidate there who've lost the last 3. Lost the last 3, been battered by Leicester 5-0 recently. And you're looking at that Leeds United side who kept Russell Martin in his job the last time we played them when they battered us down at St Mary's. You've gone into that today, you've thought, right, okay, the players don't know. I mean, they're staying on at the end there, the players, and they're trying to look at the Ipswich score, looking all disappointed. You got Melier and Rodon looking at the scorecard as if it's like, well, lads, you've lost. and you yeah, but you've
lost. You needed to win today.
Yeah, but you've also shown like you've not won the game. You've not won the game. It's almost like Ipswich could have still got promoted. It seems just since this post international break, that's symptomatic of it. Just completely.
Yeah,
it's confusing to us all how they've come back, and there's so many fingers to point at, but people to point at really when it comes to it, but. Farker brought the players on. We all thought they needed to be changed at half time, because straight away we know what's going to happen. The pattern is he waits 10, 15 minutes. It's the exact same.
And nothing changed.
Nothing changed. Some people like, if anything,
it got worse.
If anything, it got worse because they came out and they got a little bit more disciplined. I thought in the first half, it was a little bit of a basketball game. They thought that it felt like they were going to score every single time.
Yeah.
But I did think in the second half, they came out and they were controlled. They were confident. They were baiting Leeds in. I mentioned this in the game, didn't I? They were baiting Leeds in, setting traps, and Ampadu was following Adam Armstrong everywhere went. So Adam Armstrong would come into the middle, he'd come a little bit deeper. Ampadu would follow him. Then Smallbone would make that run in between the centre backs where there was a gap. I mean, I said to you throughout the game, the worrying thing about that is you still saw problems from the first Southampton game where Smallbone is being unchallenged going into the box and putting a finish in. I mean, that second goal was everyone's blaming Junior Firpo. Yeah, all right, okay, he's not done great, but Smallbone, there's five players in there.
To that, Conor, I mean, that's the nature of football. One man beats another man, okay, and that's what happened from an innocuous ball played out to our corner flag. You got that lad beat Firpo. That happens in football. That happens in football. Players beat other players.
Time to recover.
But from what happened then was a disgrace. When you looked at 2 Southampton players, maybe 3, running into the box, and there were 5 Leeds players in and around that box, completely out of position. Melier's in goal, and it was not a great strike of the ball. It ended up in the back of the net. But that's a worrying thing. The worrying thing that one player can be beaten, and then you've got other players there that should be combating a dangerous situation. And they're like schoolboys. They seem to be absolutely unaware.
Well, the first goal where the ball's put in, they're all just attracted to the balls like bees to honey.
Yeah.
And there's 5 Southampton players at the back post. I don't know what's happened to them.
I don't. And what's the biggest worry of all is they seem to be uninterested.
Yeah, I thought that.
That's what
I thought that
seems to be that malaise.
You need to. Well, someone's put that in the comment section. It's the fact that we can all talk about the tactics. We can talk about Farker. We can talk this, that, and the other. But when the players, the intensity was on its arse in that second half on it. There was no desire, endeavour. There was nothing, no fight, no passion. Not even. I know it sounds daft, but at some point, very Roy Keane of me to say this. You just wanted like just a tackle to go in to notice that you're interested, you're bothered about, get. I mean, this is a team that we could be playing at Wembley, and that gives you no confidence.
Do you know if you were somebody else looking from the outside in at that game and you didn't realise what was at stake and what could be at stake moving forward, certainly looking at the Leeds team, you'd be thinking that most of them are already on the beach.
Yeah.
That they don't have 2, potentially 3 competitive games coming up that could define the season and next season as well,
and their futures.
Yeah, and there looked to be completely no interest from any of those players, almost at any point throughout that match for me, other than the first 7 or 8 minutes where they showed a little bit more. It looked encouraging. There was a bit of bounce there, and you thought, oh, well, maybe there could be something in this. And then they go and score predictably straight away. 5-6 minutes later, we get back at nothing else after that. Nothing else. Nothing.
And is that on the? Do you think that's on the manager? Do you think that's on the players? I mean, you don't know. It's probably a 50-50 split. But I keep saying this with Farker in charge. He's the man at the top. He's the man spearheading this, and it does get me a little bit frustrated when he's constantly like laughing at the referee and he's sort of like smacking
arms in
the air constantly.
Right fist into the palm of his left hand.
And we saw this against QPR. We saw him doing all of these sort of extravagant things on the sideline. Do you think the pressure's getting to him a little bit?
Well, he spoke a few weeks ago, didn't he, about the shirt being heavy at Leeds? Maybe it is. Maybe finally the penny's dropped, and that's what it is. I mean, we've got to stick with. I mean, you met up with somebody from 49ers this week. You've got the feeling that certainly the owners are fully behind Farker, and he's going to be there at the helm next season. We've certainly got to be behind him over these next 2, potentially 3 games. There's no doubt about that. But for the first time, I mean, I was only saying to you the other day, Conor, I believe we should start the season with Farker. this is another game that's gone by at a really, really crucial part of the season when, at the very least, I'm expecting to see some passion from the Leeds players, and I'm not seeing it. And I'm wondering, is there the right man to take us into the next season now?
I think they look scared.
I don't know. Maybe we've always said it's a certain type of player that can thrive at Ellen Road.
Yeah,
and that also goes to the manager. It's a certain type of man that's going to thrive at Ellen Road. And yeah, we've got this massive points total and we've not gone up. A lot of that was based on a nine match unbeaten record where we won every single game over 9 games. But it's a difficult one to argue. But I'm just all of a sudden wondering now, at this most important time of the season, when we've had 4 or 5 other clubs within the division for their own reasons turning up at pressure points at this part of the season and producing what they need to have done, and we haven't. And I do not understand that when we were doing it over 9-10 games, and now it's just gone. Is that a sign for the future? It's certainly not a good sign for the next 2 or 3 games. But what about next year when it's going to be even harder?
Well, this is the thing. This is the thing as well, because you've got to look a little bit beyond the playoffs at this moment in time, because I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, if they've completely emptied out right now, I look at that 4-0 loss to QPR. Did anyone go in and have choice words? Was anyone bollocking anyone on the pitch today? There was no sort of...
You said that. No vocalization.
Nothing. And you sat there and you think to yourself, well, hold on a minute. This is a pressure cooker game, because we're not playing Cardiff. We're not playing Swansea. We're not playing your Plymouths. We're playing a side who are going to be directly up against us. And we're putting in a performance, which I thought effort levels, which, listen, the QPR game, I thought effort levels were on their arse. But in these last 2 games, this is the first time this season I've looked at it and I've gone, well, the effort's not there. The effort's not, it's flat, it's lethargic. And then you get the Sky commentators talking about why the Leeds crowd flat. Why do you think they're flat? They're completely flat by what they're seeing as well.
There's only so many times throughout the season, Conor, that crowd can be the 12th man.
Yeah.
And
they rely on it a lot as well.
Yeah, and they seem to rely on it a lot. And there's so much about what we've seen there today that you could analyse to the 9th degree, couldn't you? And you could, is it Farker? Does he have a plan in place? Is it the players? You could analyse it and analyse it and analyse it. But the mix that we've got at the moment clearly isn't a good mix. And yet we know we can do it. We know we can do it. There's been times this season, particularly that 9-match run where we went unbeaten, where we know we can do it. And we can do it. But something's gone awry. It's not happening right now. Why? I really don't know.
But like you said, you were talking about Farker then, you were mentioning next season and stuff like that. I think fans have got to realise as well that, when I was speaking to that guy at the 49ers, they're going to be doing something very similar. It's going to be 1 in, 1 out, hopefully 2 in, maybe 3 out, depends on what happens.
So there's not going to be a lot of change.
There's not going to be a lot of change, which for a lot of people might be good. Obviously, we're probably going to see certain people still go out on loan, your Rockers, your Christensens, your Aronsons, if we can't get stuff back.
I thought about those coming back into the fold.
So they're going to be coming back. There might be 1 or 2 who's going to stick around, but overall, it's going to be 1 in. It's going to be, but like we've said, parachute payments dramatically reduced. We've still got that 73 million quid to pay back. We don't want to go on about that too much right now, but the whole point is this is why it all comes back to, it shouldn't be this flat. We should be tactically prepped for this game. We should be a little bit more sort of, wanting more when we're 2-1 down and they're in complete control and they're a promotion rival. It all comes back to that, because you're thinking of next season, you're thinking with a Sheffield United, a Burnley, a Luton coming down, they are ready made for this division. If an Everton were to come down and a Forest were to come down, they'd probably blow up financially. They'd have to change 15 odd players, so there might be turmoil on and off the pitch. Managerial things might change. Rob Edwards is going to come down with Luton. Chris Wilder's going to come down with Sheffield United. And ultimately, Vincent Kompany's going to come down with Burnley. So that says to me that next season, with their parachute payments, they're the 3 that comes down. Ours is going to be dramatically reduced.
To go straight back up. Look at the way the league table finished this season. You have 3 of the relegated teams finishing in the top 4 in the Championship. It's going to be the same next year. You're going to have those 3 teams are going to be very, very competitive, and we're not going to be quite as competitive. Has Farker got out of these players what he should have gotten out of them? We've said, had Bielsa been in charge with this group of players, we'd have been promoted automatically. We would have done.
Yeah.
It's just gone wrong, so there's lots to consider. Already in my mind's eye, I'm thinking of us starting, and please don't think people that I'm being negative. It's realism from me. But already I'm thinking, based on what I'm seeing now, we're a championship team.
Not showing anything. They've not shown us anything. What have we got to be excited? You know, you'll hear people in this, and because during the playoffs we've still got a chance, and we have still got a chance. But you've got to look at it realistically. That week where we've blown up against Blackburn and Sunderland, I don't know what that was. But 2 horrific performances, no goals scored, 1 point out of 6, and not only that, but then to react to that. This is the whole problem. It's the reaction. So to react to a Sunderland 0-0, which you should have got the win over the line. You go to Blackburn, you go against Blackburn, you beat Blackburn comfortably. They've got nothing to play for. Maybe not slight chance of relegation, but you beat Blackburn because you're a better team. Okay, you've lost that somehow. You then go to QPR when it's still all on the line and you win. You win. Even in that Bielsa season when we got 93 points, those clutch moments, we won. You know, your Barnsleys, remember at home where we got battered, but you win. You know, and at the end of the day, you know, you even go into this last game and we've just asked for a reaction. We've had no reaction. And that's the worry for me, Dad. The worry for me is when it's been good, it's been great. And of course it has. But when it's been bad, it's like when you're in a relationship. Are you good in a relationship with your partner? The good times are good, but are the bad times horrific as well? And it feels like right now the bad times are horrific, and the manager and the players don't seem to be able to react to it.
And also, you go back to, you know, that game against Barnsley a few years ago. If there'd have been a full Ellen Road crowd there that day, would it have turned out like it turned out today? You know, you've got to be a special kind of player to play at Ellen Road, play with that Leeds shirt on your back. You know, you've got to be a special type of manager to manage players in those situations. And that is the worry. It seems like we've got to the crux, the important end of the season, the business end, which is what Farke's been talking about all season long.
Saying he's ready for it and he's good enough.
Yeah. And saying, I ignore the table until we get to the business end. Well, it seems to me like he's ignored the table at exactly the wrong time.
He said the last 6, didn't he? Last 6 games is when he starts to look at it. That's what he said.
And look at what's happened in the last 6. You know, me and you are showing more passion here right now, Conor, at the moment when we're absolutely down than our players and our managers has shown in the last 6-7 games. You know, if they'd have showed an ounce of the passion that we're showing right now here at this moment in time, maybe we would have had more of a chance today. I just don't know. That's all gone. It's evaporated. And that's why I feel so down in the dumps about this. I mean, today was the ideal opportunity. It's a mini tournament, 4 games left potentially to play. An ideal opportunity to show us the bounce, the passion that we need to get us through this. Nothing.
Yeah, absolutely nothing. Freddie says the players need to be more nastier and more arrogant. And listen, I don't think Freddie's wrong there. No, I think nastiness, arrogant. I mean, we're looking at it then at the back end of it. There's a tackle that goes in on Somerville. And I'm not going to say we're going to stop the entire game, but at least someone get round the referee, at least a couple of bodies go and show a bit of heart, a bit of fight, a bit of passion. And then as soon as a tackle goes in on a Southampton player, you've got Rothwell, you've got Smallbone, all up in the Leeds players' fest and the referees' players. And it just, you know, and that Bielsa side, it wasn't nasty, was it? No, but that Bielsa side wasn't nasty. But the thing is, the ability on the pitch and what he drilled them to do. It always brings me back to that Aston Villa game. Remember where the ghost goal, where you had Grealish, Horan, Abraham, McGinn all up in the referee's face. And I remember even thinking back then, I'd love Leeds to be a bit more nasty, but we had a little bit of a nasty streak with Click in there, didn't we? A little bit of a nastier streak in that midfield. But now it is. Listen, Farke said he'd love, midweek, he said he'd love a Morsey. He'd love a Luongo.
He hasn't got it. Why talk like that? He hasn't got it.
But and that's what I mean.
That's down to him and the board.
Yeah, it is, and he's had a transfer window to do it. But I just think maybe, and it's not a Farke out thing, but I just think he's got to be a little bit more careful about comments like that, careful about saying stuff like, you know, in the January period, oh, well, I'm working with the strikers and I used to be a striker. So you watch what happens with me when a former striker, I had Timu Pukki. That's what he was saying. I have Timu Pukki. Well, since January, the strikers haven't delivered overall. As an overall 3, they haven't delivered.
We've got Patrick Bamford. That's what we've got. And that consistently choosing Patrick Bamford. That's what we've got. When you've got a young lad there, you know, who showed his quality, you know, at Chelsea, scored a couple of goals and didn't even feature in the next game. You know, why shove him on the pitch?
But it's these comments, isn't it? His comments talking about Morsey and Luongo when you're going into, and I get it's experience, but I'd be taking our players all, and I know the context was it was experience, but I just don't see them as helpful comments right now, the week into going into a playoff. It doesn't need to be made, does it?
There's an argument saying, why did we let Ayling go? He wasn't given any kind of game time. And I know you weren't a massive fan of Ayling.
I wasn't a fan of Ayling.
But I mean, I think he'd have been a useful player to have around. And I don't mean like Liam Cooper warming the bench. You can't say to me that Luke Ayling wouldn't have done a better job.
If he's talking, no, well, exactly. And Brownie said the same thing. He said, you know, if you've got Sam Byram, who, by the way, was again truly awful today and still gets picked. If you've got, you know, not only that, Dad, Sam Byram, Luke Ayling conversation, but if he's talking about experience, I'm not saying we would want Luke Ayling to be around because he probably wouldn't feature. But if you're talking about experience, don't let Luke Ayling go. And then you don't have to whinge about your more seeing Luongos.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Exactly that, Conor. His argument falls flat on its face when he's talking about experience and lets experienced players go, particularly someone who's so close to the club. You know, who's in the Peacock celebrating not too long ago with the fans before a game.
Yeah.
You know, this is somebody who the fans can associate with, and he'd have been invaluable, I think, in being around, and he could have featured.
But technically, I think we know. Technically, we know that. But I don't think he was good enough. But I get your point. You know, when you're looking at Byram and you're looking at Ayling and you're looking at the comparison between those two. But if he's talking about experience, well, manage that, Daniel. Manage that before this, then. You know, with your Luke Ayling in there, who's been there, he's done it. He's been part of promotion. He's been part of relegation to the Premier League. I'm not saying technically he's able, but don't let him go then.
And do you know what, Conor? That experience could have been the marginal gain that we needed just to get us over the line in these last few games.
Pat P says Connor's dad spot on as usual. Got a lot of fans in here, Dad, which is great to see. Sujal says I can't even think about next season in the Championship without Cree, Nonto Road on Georgia, mid-table mediocrity. Methinks. Yeah, cheers for the donation. Mooks as well. Farker is very conservative. I've just seen. And it feels like, you know, we're watching this and we've said this all season. I think this is the major criticism with this Leeds side. And I saw it quite well on, someone said it on Twitter and I've seen it on Reddit as well. Vibes FC. And to pick that Vibes FC, you can't just say that because Farker's obviously done a good job. He's done a good job. Leeds have got to 90 points. But the Vibes FC comment is very much on the basis that Chris Somerville and Rutzer for large parts of the season have been unbelievable, especially Somerville. Large parts of the season, you know, when you've got Somerville in there, you've got Nonto available. Obviously, Dan James, who I didn't rate at the start of the season, Farker's done a good job to get a good tune out of him.
Yeah,
he's
so let's be positive. He really has done a good job with Dan James. I agree.
He has.
Yeah,
he has. But you know, I just feel systematically all season we've had problems with set pieces. All season we've had problems with long balls, bypassing a press. All season we've had problems with quickening up the pace because we've got so much artillery. Yeah. And you can't help it, but you have to hark back. I don't like doing it, but comparison to Bielsa's style of play, where you'd have a screener just in front of the back four, like Grove does. Grove just sits there. So Grove sits there, but when he gets the ball, the movement of the ball is lateral. But when we had Calvin Phillips back in the day, it'd be those long arcing passes. And I think that the frustration for me is if you're having those long arcing passes, you are literally getting a 1v1 situation with Somerville and any other fullback, Nonto and any other fullback, Dan James. And I just feel there's so many parts of the season, the substitutions. But what we do have to say is the man management's been really good. He has got us to 90 points. But at the end of the day, Dad, this squad, we have to be honest, this squad and Southampton squad, of course, between them, Ipswich can't be getting promoted ahead of Leeds United with the caliber of squad we've got, and the manager that we have in, someone who's won the thing twice.
Yeah, and again, I mean, it's interesting what you're saying there. You know, I heard this comment the other day. It's been 2 rookie managers that have actually got automatic promotion. You know, in Maresca and McKenna. Well, I wouldn't exactly call McKenna a rookie manager, but he's been at Ipswich, I think, now for 3 years, and that's another argument as well, isn't it? That he's had a settled squad now for 3 years. He's had a successful squad for 3 years. What they did last year, I think Ipswich have actually equaled the points total this year that they did last year. You think about that, that's absolutely incredible. And 2 automatic promotions have scored more goals than anybody else again in the league this year, the respective league that they've been in. It's been different for Farker because he's coming very late in the day. You know, we missed really the first 3 or 4 games. He's had to get used to new players, a new squad. The pressure was on straight away as soon as he came into Leeds. So it's been different to him. I don't know what the kind of pressure was on Maresca at Leicester. Who knows? But he had a quality squad to play with, hit the ground running straight away, which he did. So I think it's been different for Farker this season. But, you know, when we're looking back over the season, I agree. You know, we certainly have got the second or third best squad. Ipswich really should have been featuring. It should have been those 3 relegated teams that were fighting it out for 2 automatic.
And the context that
it should have been,
and the context that,
and it was to a degree because we were right there until the end. But we let it slip.
But the context,
we should have done better.
And the context is of all this, you can get 90 points, but to get however many points we have done, 8 points out of, I think it's been 8 points out of however many games we've had, 30 odd points since we've come back. It's all right to get 9 points, but when you completely blow up at the end, what the hell's the point? So it's like, okay, well, for 2/3 of the season, we show up. For 2/3 of the season, maybe a little bit more than 2/3 of the season. But we were speaking about that checkered flag before. We spoke about on Generation Leeds. Who's going to fall off? Southampton fell off Easter weekend. But then, unbelievably, with how much they fell off, they've actually ended up 3 points behind us.
That's all it is. But I suppose it's maybe, the light at the end of the tunnel in all of this, when we're looking forward, over the next 2 games, and we're looking at the 4 teams that are going to be contesting that playoff spot. You know what, Conor? Okay, it's Southampton beat us today, and they beat us at a canter.
Easily.
And really, I don't think it was because Southampton played really well. It was because we didn't turn up and we didn't seem interested. If we can turn that around and we can all of a sudden get back to that form when we were beating all these teams not so long ago, then there's no reason why we can't get up. There doesn't seem to be any one team in these 4 at the moment that are producing a high level of performance. When you look back at the playoffs in years gone by, there always seems to be one team that builds on a run, they storm into the playoffs, and they're on the crest of a wave. There doesn't seem to be any one team out of the 4 that, Southampton have just lost 3. Okay, they won today. Norwich lost today. West Brom have been on a really bad run. We've been on a bad run. So you could argue that the biggest winner would have been if somehow Hull could have got over the line, because I would have fancied Hull out of any of those 4 teams.
I thought you meant us.
If Hull had have got into these 4 and one of them had dropped out, I'd have fancied Hull out of any of them to get up into the Premier League next year.
And I guess as well.
None of us, these 4 really at the moment are showing any signs of form.
Well, Paul's just said as well, positives is Norwich lost and West Brom could beat Southampton. And they definitely could. I think the worry would be Southampton on that big pitch at Wembley, especially with in 2 games now, they've just controlled it.
And they've beaten Leeds twice this season.
That's what I mean,
yeah. So they know they've got 6 points out of 6 from Leeds. They meet us in the final. As far as they're concerned, it's the Premier League.
Yeah, and they've done it before.
They've done it. They can beat Leeds, they know it.
And you wonder about that mental block with us against the Southampton.
You do.
So you kind of got to hope that West Brom do them, haven't you, really?
But that is the light at the end of the tunnel for us. That you're looking at the 4 teams in the playoff positions. None of them are really showing any true signs of form at the moment.
No, they're not. And it'd have been, it'd have been lovely for us to just end this season on a win. But for that, I mean, I can't remember. I mean, championship wise, obviously it's not been like this in a long time, but it always feels like on the last day of seasons, even just like, when we've been poor and stuff like that, they always seem to put in a performance on the last day of the season. For it to just go out like this after such, after a 90-point season to go out like this, it's
hope, an optimism that we had not that long ago. Not that long ago. I mean, it was the Millwall match, wasn't it? I was just looking back actually before we went back on live and looking at the last 10 games, and when we beat Millwall at home, everything was looking good. Yeah. And really from that point on, we got maybe another win or 2. It's just been dismal. It's been a downward slide.
Well, you even look at that.
Where's it come from? I don't know.
But you even look at that
international break.
Yeah, but you even look at that Borough game, and 1-4-3, but an onside goal was a mile offside. Yeah. I know we've not had things go for it. A Sunderland penalty for Sunderland. Yeah. But now you're looking at this side and you're thinking, would they even converted that? With the confidence just being as low as it is.
I mean, that to be honest, harking back to the international break, I think that had a devastating impact on us, don't you? But saying that as professionals, that doesn't excuse the fact that as professionals, for me, they've not been up to it. They've not been up to it.
Completely bottled it. Yeah, they have bottled it. Well, guys, we'll leave it there. Unfortunately, it's not been a nice end to it, but hopefully Leeds are going to give us something. But as we've said, it's not looking great, is it? It's not looking great at the minute, unfortunately.
All we can hope for, mate, is that we're going to be the best out of a bad bunch form-wise at the moment. That's the best we can hope for. And that he's got 8 days now to work with the team to try and bring that mindset round and to say, look, this is it now. This is it. This is what it's all about, these next 2 games. Let's make it count. Let's get to the final. And let's prove to everybody that we're Leeds United and we can get back up to where we belong.
That's been it from us, guys. Please make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Go on and check Gabe's stuff as well. He's just done something on the channel if you want some additional bits, and we will see you on the other side. Cheers.
See you now.